The numbers should not have made sense. 71,000 views. That was the number attached to a pre-tournament press conference at the 2026 Australian Open. Not for the world number one. Not for a Grand Slam champion. Not for the defending title holder. The bigger number belonged to a 20-year-old Filipina who would lose in the first round. 9,000 views. That was the number for the woman ranked number one in the world. And somewhere inside the offices of the WTA, inside the television departments, inside the scheduling rooms at the Grand Slams, people quietly began to realize something that Filipino tennis fans had already known for years. This was no longer a normal tennis story. Her name was Alex Eala. And by the time Wimbledon 2026 arrived, she was no longer simply carrying a racket onto the grass courts of the All England Club. She was carrying a country. If you had followed her rise since the Miami semifinal, since the Junior US Open title, since the long days at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, you could feel it building long before the rankings fully reflected it. Filipino fans saw it first. They saw it before the mainstream broadcasts, before the draw committees, before the global sponsors fully understood what they were looking at. Because this was never just about tennis. It was about identity. 5 days before Wimbledon began, Alex stood on the grass in Birmingham holding the first grass court trophy of her professional career. The Birmingham crowd applauded politely at first, but the moment she stepped to the microphone, something shifted. She did not begin by thanking herself. She did not begin with sponsors. She looked toward the stands filled with Filipino flags and said softly in Tagalog, "Home is the people, not the place." The applause that followed sounded less like celebration and more like recognition. For years, millions of Filipinos scattered across London, Dubai, Toronto, Sydney, Los Angeles, and Manila had been waiting for somebody at this level of global sport to speak directly to them. Not as an audience, not as consumers, not as casual supporters, as family. That single sentence transformed everything. Suddenly, Alex Eala was no longer simply a rising player on the WTA tour. She became the emotional center of an entire movement. 2 weeks before Birmingham, she had already shocked the tennis world in Berlin. She defeated Elena Rybakina, one of the most dangerous grass court players on earth. Then she followed it by beating another elite opponent to reach the semifinals of a WTA 500 event. The victories themselves were stunning, but it was the atmosphere surrounding them that stunned the sport even more. Crowds began following her from practice court to practice court. Security struggled to control walkways packed with Filipino supporters. Every appearance felt less like a tennis tournament and more like a national event unfolding in real time. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the women's draw, the world number one was walking into Wimbledon under entirely different circumstances. Aryna Sabalenka entered the tournament answering difficult questions about pressure, criticism, and emotional struggles after her Roland Garros collapse. Headlines discussed frustration. Interviews discussed mental exhaustion. British media described her press conferences as tense and uncomfortable. The contrast could not have been more dramatic. One woman was defending her image. The other was carrying a nation. And the silence surrounding Alex from many of the sport's biggest stars somehow made her rise feel even louder. By January, the warning signs were already there for the tennis establishment. At the Australian Open, tournament organizers placed Alex on court 6, a modest outer court with limited seating. Within hours, the area surrounding the stadium became almost impossible to navigate. Thousands of Filipino fans packed the walkways. Lines stretched across Melbourne Park. People climbed barriers just to glimpse warm-ups. BBC commentators openly questioned how tournament organizers could have underestimated her popularity so badly. The Australian Open itself later acknowledged they had learned a major lesson from the scheduling chaos. A Grand Slam tournament had effectively admitted they miscalculated the drawing power of one 20-year-old Filipina. That moment mattered more than many people realized. Because Grand Slam tournaments do not apologize publicly unless something significant has happened behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, the numbers were becoming impossible to ignore. The YouTube views, the ticket requests, the television audiences, the merchandise demand, the social media engagement. Everything around Alex Eala was moving at a speed the sport had never seen from a Southeast Asian player before. By the time Wimbledon arrived, the All England club had adjusted accordingly. Alex entered the tournament as the number 29 seed, officially becoming the first Filipino in history to earn a singles seeding at a Grand Slam tournament. It was not just a personal achievement. It was a structural acknowledgement by one of the oldest institutions in sports that tennis itself was changing. Then came the merchandise phenomenon. Inside Nike Fort at Bonifacio Global City in July 2025, fans lined up for hours to buy a simple white t-shirt featuring a small Sampaguita flower designed in honor of Alex. The design came from Manila-based artist Georgina Camus, inspired by a custom flower hair tie Nike created exclusively for Alex before her Wimbledon debut. Only one original hair tie existed in the world. When she wore it onto center court, it became symbolic almost instantly. The t-shirt release that followed was expected to sell moderately well. Instead, it disappeared in minutes. Online inventory reportedly vanished in under 60 seconds. In-store inventory disappeared almost immediately afterward. Resellers began listing shirts online at multiple times the retail price. Suddenly, a tennis player ranked outside the top 50 was generating the kind of merchandise frenzy normally reserved for basketball icons and global football stars. And Nike realized they had made a massive mistake. Not because the product failed, because they had underestimated the size of the audience. That was the moment corporations finally began understanding what Filipino fans had been saying for years. Alex Eala was not simply an athlete. She was a market, a movement, a cultural force. And the deeper her Wimbledon run became, the louder everything surrounding her grew. But underneath the excitement, there was another story unfolding quietly in the background.
Pain.
Fatigue. Pressure. The grass season had been relentless. Birmingham,
Queen's Club.
Berlin, Bad Homburg. 4 demanding tournaments in rapid succession with almost no recovery time. Photographs began circulating showing heavy tape wrapped around her shoulder. Observers noticed discomfort during matches. Her movements occasionally looked restricted. Then came Berlin. During her semi-final loss to Linda Noskova, something clearly looked wrong physically. Her returns lacked their usual sharpness. Her serve occasionally lost pace. Every point looked physically draining. Yet even afterward, she smiled. On Instagram, she wrote, "Can't begin to describe all the emotions I've experienced this week. My heart is full. I am forever grateful, Berlin." At the time, fans saw gratitude. Later, they saw exhaustion hidden behind composure. Then came Bad Homburg. The shoulder tape grew heavier. Questions intensified. Had she pushed herself too hard? Was her body beginning to break down at the worst possible moment? And then came the practice court incident. 48 hours before Wimbledon officially began, Alex stepped onto the grass for what should have been a routine practice session. The weather was perfect. Photographers circled nearby. Coaches observed quietly from behind the baseline. Then, during an ordinary forehand exchange, she suddenly froze. A sharp cry echoed across the court. Her racket fell slightly from her hand. And within seconds, the entire atmosphere changed. Alex clutched her shoulder, the same shoulder that had already worried fans for weeks. Coaches rushed forward. Nearby players stopped practicing. For a brief moment, silence swallowed the practice grounds. Social media exploded almost instantly. Was it serious? Could she still compete? Would her historic Wimbledon dream end before the first match even began? The uncertainty spread everywhere. Filipino fans across the world reacted emotionally. Prayer circles formed online. Messages flooded social media. Some fans openly cried during live stream discussions. Because by then, Alex no longer belonged only to herself. Her rise had become deeply personal for millions of people. And somehow, even amid all the fear, her popularity only grew stronger. Former players began openly discussing her as the future face of the women's game. Commentators noted that when Alex won matches, the reactions looked less like ordinary victories and more like national celebrations. One analyst described it perfectly. "When she wins, it feels like an entire country wins with her." Then the Wimbledon draw arrived, and fate delivered the most cinematic opening round matchup imaginable. Renata Zarazua, the same opponent who defeated Alex 2 years earlier in North Carolina. The same loss that haunted her quietly during her climb toward the top 30. Back in 2024, Alex had won the opening set comfortably before collapsing under pressure. Zarazua clawed her way back and stole the match in 3 sets. It was not a famous loss. No headlines followed it. No major media coverage surrounded it. But those are often the defeats athletes remember most. The private humiliations. The missed opportunities. The matches where you realize talent alone is not enough. People close to Alex later revealed she studied that loss repeatedly. She analyzed her footwork, her decision-making, her emotional collapse under pressure. And over the next 2 years, she built a different version of herself. A stronger one, a calmer one, a more ruthless competitor. Now, on the most famous courts in tennis, she would face the same woman again. Only this time, everything was different. Alex walked onto center court not as an unknown teenager, but as the number 29 seed at Wimbledon. The first Filipina in history to achieve it. The crowd atmosphere felt surreal. Filipino flags filled sections of the stands. Chants echoed through the stadium before warm-ups even began. For many fans, this was not merely round 1. It was redemption. The opening games were tense. Zarazua fought hard, drawing from experience and familiarity. But gradually, Alex's grass-court confidence took over. Her left-handed serve curved violently wide. Her returns landed earlier and more aggressively. Most importantly, the emotional panic that once consumed her during difficult moments was gone. At the crucial stage of the match, she earned a break point and fired a forehand winner that electrified center court. The stadium exploded. From there, she never looked back. When the final ace landed, Alex dropped to her knees. Not because it was only a Wimbledon victory, because 2 years of unfinished emotional business had finally ended. The scoreboard officially recorded the win. But emotionally, something much bigger had happened. She had buried the ghosts that followed her from North Carolina. And now, waiting ahead, was the possibility the entire tennis world secretly wanted. A showdown with Serena Williams. The symbolism felt almost too perfect. A young Filipina carrying one of the loudest fan movements in modern tennis, potentially facing the greatest women's player of all time on the sport's grandest stage. Television ratings projections skyrocketed overnight. Ticket requests surged again. And suddenly, Wimbledon itself revolved around one question. Could Alex Eala actually reach the second week? Because by then, even people who doubted her tennis ability had stopped doubting the phenomenon surrounding her. Former British number 1 Annabel Croft openly questioned whether the sport was fully prepared for the scale of her popularity. Former US Open finalist Greg Rosetsky described her as one of the most dangerous players in the entire draw. Analysts repeatedly pointed toward the same reality. No opponent wanted to face the atmosphere that followed Alex onto a court. Because this was not normal crowd support anymore. This was emotional momentum. And emotional momentum can become terrifying in sports. Especially at Wimbledon. Especially when belief starts spreading beyond reason. The most fascinating part of Alex's rise was that she never presented herself as invincible. She lost matches. She struggled physically. She admitted difficult conditions affected her. After her early Bad Homburg defeat, she calmly explained, "I think the conditions were difficult for me today, so I did the best I could with what I had." No excuses. No theatrics. Just honesty. And perhaps that honesty became part of why fans connected to her so deeply. She did not behave like a manufactured superstar. She behaved like someone still emotionally overwhelmed by everything happening around her, which somehow made millions of people want to protect her journey even more. By Wimbledon 2026, Alex Eala had become something larger than rankings, larger than statistics, larger than ordinary sports narratives. She represented the arrival of a country the tennis world had historically overlooked. For decades, the sport's commercial power centered around Europe and North America. Now suddenly, Southeast Asia had produced a figure capable of filling stadiums, breaking viewership expectations, crashing merchandise launches, and forcing global institutions to rethink scheduling decisions. And the loudest part of it all? She was only 21 years old. The story still felt unfinished. Every match seemed to create a bigger possibility. Every victory widened the audience. Every emotional celebration deepened the connection between player and country. Some stars dominate through intimidation, others through trophies. Alex Eala was becoming something different entirely, a player whose emotional gravity transformed every tournament she entered. And somewhere inside Wimbledon, among the polished traditions and centuries of history, the sport quietly realized it was witnessing the beginning of a completely new era. Not because the rankings demanded it, because the people did.